We are at the halfway point of the URC, which I feel like is what I said last episode, but it's still true. And there's been some colossal fightbacks, there's been some horrendous upsets, and there's been some quite normal rugby. So we're going to leave that to last. But anyway, let's get on with the show. Joining me this evening, if I can say it, I only say it every week, is Irish Adam and South African Mohammed. Good evening, gents.
Good evening. How's it going?
No Ethan this week, so we had no Adam last week, no Scottish Ethan this week. He is traveling, so shout out Ethan. We'll see you next week, mate. But so we'll do our best to kind of cover the Scottish Italian chat between us as best we can. But before we do that, let's crack straight on with the show because, as always, we've got far too much rugby to talk about in far too little time. And I've decided, Mohammed, that this week we are starting with the big one: Stormers versus your Sharks team at Cape Town. 52,000 people in attendance. Stadium looked beautiful. It was a hell of a game. And for the first time, maybe ever in the history of this podcast, Mohammed, we have to say it was a hell of a performance by the Sharks.
Yeah, well done to them. Hopefully more performances like this. It was somewhat of a tight game, especially at the start. Sharks were in the lead the entire time, other than the start. Once they took the lead, things got a little more tighter. I was impressed by the Sharks' performance. I think people stood up. I think we've heard criticism of Jordan Hendricks on Bit of an Animal, where Jean said that no South African team other than the Stormers have good fly-offs, and I think Jordan Hendricks put that to bed. I think Jaden Hendricks had a really good game. It's sad that it's weird that we effectively started with 38th man. We had Manu Chituka on the one flank, Pepsi Buthelezi on the other flank, and Nick Hatton playing eight. All these guys have come through the system actually playing eight, and they actually played quite well. So there's no like architectural like the Stormers had Peter de Villiers on the one flank, and he's sort of like a shorter
Mm.
dude. And then they had Ben Jason Dixon, who was like almost the what you would think of as maybe an athletic blindside flank in that mold. Somers did sort of miss Evan Roos because he didn't start, but Thedison is a good player in his own right. He's not to the quality of Roos, but yeah, overall, what I find interesting is that the what I find interesting is that the Stormers PR says it's a sellout. It's a 55,000 seater stadium, but then the website constantly says like less than that. So I don't know what the description there is. I do have a communication with the Stormers PR team, so maybe I'll shoot them I'll definitely shoot them an email this week and just understand
I would, I
why
would, I
those are
would leave
different.
it. I would leave
Yeah.
it. I would say that that is probably a way to piss someone off. So just leave
Because
it.
what is it? What is it? Is it a sellout or
Hey,
but I think maybe the premium box seats weren't sold and stuff like that. And those cost quite a bit of money. So yeah,
email
winning
Monday
a
the
game,
26th. Hi, bet to whom it may concern. Are you
yeah.
lying?
I just don't understand how this works. But yeah, that's what their PR says. So yeah, going into the game, we were very much underdogs. No one gave us a shot. I shout out to Jean. Every time Jean on the Bit of an Animal says, like, before the Sharks Bulls game in Durban, which was a sellout in Durban, by the way, after Sharks Fest, what you call it? Jean said like on the podcast, which I couldn't attend because I had to focus on my day job. He said like, Sharks no chance, and then we won. And then against the Stormers, he was like Sharks no chance, and then we won again. So thank you, Jean. I hope you bet against us every week.
Well, you were saying to us before, Mohammed, on the Champions Cup shows that Sharks were targeting this game or these games against the Stormers. And that really came across. They really seemed like they'd done their homework. And you have like we say, it's tempting always, when a big team or what was a table topping team in the Stormers kind of loses a game, it's tempting to hyper criticize the losers. But genuinely, for the first time in the history of this podcast, I think we have to say good job, Sharks.
What's also interesting is that JP Peterson, since he came in, has given young guys a chance. Uh, Patoganyane started, and he's now seemingly Oxenchair's understudy. We need Oxenchair really to anchor the scrum
Made
and
a
he came
big
on
difference when he
after
came
30
on.
minutes. Yeah. Pato did okay. I think it was him who got caught offside sillily. He was a bit lazy running in the first half. Um, and he did okay in the scrums. And the other thing is that we have Makazola Mampimpi and uh, Van der Merwe, Edel van der Merwe, and to best of my knowledge, neither of them are injured. But who started on the wing? SA under 20 World Cup winning wing Jaco Williams, who's a smaller kid because he's quite young, he's only 20, but he played fantastic. His speed and that kick across, that very flat kick across from Jordan Hendricks. So, I mean, a guy like Mbanda was in the team since JP get in, but he's dropped out somewhat because it was announced that he's going back to the Bulls. He sort of okay, we recruited him from the Bulls 2 years ago, and now he's going back to the Bulls, which is okay because we're getting a different tight end prop from overseas. So I don't think he's going to get that many chances because it seems like JP Peterson's trying to give chances to the players that are going to still be around next
Well,
season.
JP's, yeah, as you rightly said there, mate. JP's made some big calls, and
Mm.
it's paid off. It's still early days for him. I'm still not ready to call it yet,
Yeah.
but from my point of view, what went right for the Sharks in this game is they completely took away the Stormers' biggest strength, and the Stormers' biggest strength is their line out and driving maul. And I'm just trying to find the stats now. The key telling one, line outs. 6 lineouts lost for the Stormers. Ain't
Mm.
no rugby team in the world winning a game of rugby having lost 6 lineouts. Lineout
And another,
success, 67%. Lineout steals, 3 each, to be fair. But
mm.
that's it. And to be honest, having done a fair bit of research on the Stormers, their attack isn't much without their driving maul. Other than the
But
driving maul, it's quite basic. That is the word I should use.
I think we also had some key lineout steals when we were really under pressure. And then, I mean, that one in
You
the second
always
half of
jump.
Vincent
You always
from
jump.
the other in the second half with Vincent Tuka, who had to come on early after his brother Manu rolled his ankle. Um, that was key. And I also have to obviously shout out. I know Adam mentioned the Ward brothers the other day being sort of the brothers of destruction, or like a pro wrestling uh, reference or whatever. But shout out to Apolele Fassi, who got man of the match in the game. There were a lot of good performances. I mean, Pepsi Buthelezi got two tries. But yeah, shout out to Mario Chituka, who um, sort of channeled his inner Brett the Hitman heart with excellence of execution.
For audio
These are my
listeners,
running glasses,
Mohammed,
but it's
for
very
audio listeners, Mohammed has donned a pair of reflective sunglasses.
yeah.
Oh,
If
what
you
a
see somebody in
statement.
Cape Town running with these glasses on, you know it's Mohammed. And if you,
Muhammad the Hitman Hart.
I like Rick Nisbet. It was like a short guy. I don't follow pro wrestling that much, but I like a few people. Like CM Punk's a great dude, and Bret Hart Hart's a great dude. Obviously, if anybody wants to get in the comments and say they like Hulk Hogan, you're probably a doers.
Moving swiftly onwards, I'm not sure there's that much else to analyze about this. I think that it was all about the line out for me, and the scrum as well. The Sharks scrum stood up well. I thought Oxenche, when he came on, made a big difference. I loved other than I was backing the Stormers, I just love a big game, and it felt like a big game. It felt like a marquee game from the URC, and it's going to be part 2 next week. Hopefully, the Sharks will shift a few more tickets now that they've won this game. And
I
yeah,
don't think it's going to be easy either because it's almost like a test series where it's like very
yeah.
difficult to win the second one. So after the game, I was happy, but I was like telling friends like, hey, I hope the coaches get this across to the players that look, we play this other game and then we get a 3 week break. There's a 20-day gap between this second Stormers game in Durban
Mm.
and then the next game. So because the game in Durban is like on the 31st and then we play the Lions on the 21st of February. So I hope that the coaches said, don't cut too loose. We have to fly back to Durban. Let's rather like focus on, I mean, we've got a lot of injuries as well. Let's rather focus on getting the result again. Only half the battle is won. And then after that, you can really cut loose. Because I mean, the Stormers are going to come back. I mean, Sasha Feinberg and Gomba Zulu, who had a decent game. He had a good attacking setup. And obviously having Damien Willemse with him sort of also helped.
Makes
But
all the difference.
yeah.
Sasha needs Willemse, as this clip shall also prove. whilst we will just watch him do this cool stuff, completely enabled by Willemse, who's the only other person who speaks Sasha in the Stormers team. 1 from 3 from the kicking tee. When Sasha broke
Oh,
through, he was supposed to be the amalgamation of Money and Andre because he could razzle dazzle but also kick goals. The kicking goals bit has kind of stopped this season, and it's not just in this game. Like I'm sure he will fix it at some point, but it's becoming a thing now.
yeah, I noticed that as well. He really whacks it. These were Some of them were acute angles, but there was the penalty kick, which wasn't necessarily that difficult a kick per se. I mean, it looks easy on TV, but yeah, we want a degree of because the thing is that would add scoreboard pressure to the Sharks and make the game a bit more tighter. So that's something they're gonna have to clean up as well.
Mm. Did you catch much of this one, Adam?
I didn't catch much of this one, no, but as you said, Hugh, I think having South African stadiums being, that size and selling them out, there's a conspiracy there, Mohammed, but we'll see about that. But selling them out to that standard and creating that big spectacle is what makes the URC great. Because when you look at teams, like when you look at like rugby in as a whole, you'd say like Australian rugby teams can't get that type of capacity in their crowds. English teams sometimes struggle with that type of capacity, but like with a league like the URC, and I think was this Johnny Bairstow, the England wicketkeeper, the former England wicketkeeper, was in the crowd randomly there as well. So yeah, there's like to have like a party atmosphere there in an iconic stadium. It just shows why the URC is so good. But yeah, it was a great win for this. Great win for the Sharks.
There's one weird aspect though. If my team's losing and I'm watching on TV and they're losing like handily, right? Then I might sort of go do something else, go do some chores, go clean the kitchen, maybe change channel, whatever. But if I'm in the stadium and I paid money and I had to drive there and pay for parking and food or whatever, even if my team is losing, I get to watch professional athletes up close and personal. So be it in football or rugby, I'm still sticking around, even if my team's shipping 40 points or whatever, because I don't get to see people like right up front. And speaking of teams
Mhm.
losing, we don't know if, unfortunately, Tim Bikosi won't join us for a bit of an animal this week because he's a bit busy, but we do have a backup Lion supporter. But we don't know if Sibusiso is going to attend or not because his team, Arsenal, just lost to my team, Manchester United. So I anticipate we're going to get a text saying Sibusiso is unavailable.
Okay, well, tune into a bit of an animal later in the week on Global Gainline to find that. Moving onwards to the big Irish derby of the week, Adam. Connacht
Yes,
hosting Leinster.
at the
I saw a
brand.
great meme on, I think it was on Twitter, not Blue Sky, of the Simpsons meme. It was Mr. Burns going, I don't know about Leinster. They've barely even won 10 games in a row.
Oh no, honestly, it was like so this game was really interesting. It was also the reveal of the new Dexcom Stadium, which looked incredible. They like when I talk about like stadium atmospheres, I think it was like 12,500 people that were there. It was the highest ever attended Connacht match in Galway. It looked like a party. Like it was really, really cool to see. And the atmosphere was absolutely electric. But this is the game where the Connacht social media thanked Leinster fans for selling their ticket allocation out, which isn't cool because Interpro derbies are supposed to be Interpro derbies, and as somebody that supports Ulster, looking onto that, it's just a bit like ah. But it looked like a party atmosphere, and it was a party atmosphere right up until the 60th minute. I feel like with Connacht, like they used to honestly just have a shed. If you're listening now, Hugh's got a before and after picture of the old sports ground and the new Dexcom. It just used to be a shed. Like the actual funding and the money they've put into it is incredible, and I think Connacht have deserved it for a very long time. Like they won the Pro 14 10 or so odd years ago.
It was
They
Pro
are
12 at
prop
the time, 2016.
Pro 12, yes, 2016, 10
They had a
years ago.
double
Wow.
Aki midfield,
Yeah, that was
Bundy
yeah.
and Peter.
Bundy and Peter, yeah, that I flip. That's do you remember when? If you listen to the the Interpro show, you'd understand if do you remember when? But I think Connor played really, really well. They played really well up until the 60th minute. And I feel like this is a really big factor that we were seeing in this Connacht side is like they have when they play well, they play such fluid rugby. They play really nice rugby. They like were at points like bullying Leinster off the ball. Sam Gilbert scored his 27th kick in a row or something like that as well, which I think is also like Sam Gilbert. I think it's been the signing that they need him to be. But yeah, then Leinster started to do Leinster things, and we I say this every week. It's became like almost like, but Leinster know how to win games, and it came in. I think Fintan Gunn at the very start was a
This is
decent
it.
enough try.
This is the thing that's jumped out to me straight away is the timing of the tries from Leinster.
Mhm.
8
Well,
and then 57, 60 and 70.
yeah, and you have to see like if you go down to the penalties, they were marking up penalties, but like with Leinster is like Leinster at the minute. They're like any brilliant team. Like you need to score your tries. But with what Connacht were doing, they were building up a score. I think it was like 23. It was like 23 10, I think, at some point. And then Leinster just started to go in for it. It was RG Snyman with the first try, and he just launched at the line. He's about 6'7". He's massive. Just running out the line. Took a couple of Connacht defenders with him.
He's less heavy since he cut his hair.
Yeah, he is. He's less heavy since he's cut his hair, but he still is he's so good. I feel like Leinster starting him was it also a weird one because I always feel like he's on the bench. It's really weird seeing him start for Leinster. I always just think it's a conspiracy that he's always number 19.
Hmm.
But I must say, like Connacht played a really good game for 60 minutes against a team that had Caelan Doris starting, Snyman starting. You had like the likes of James Lowe as well that was also there. You had like the one of the foreign wingers in Ireland, Joshua Kenny, and they did really well against them. But as I said, it's like that little bit, the actual crossing over the game, that sort of, the fight to get that little bit more. And they just sort of looked quite tired towards the end of it.
But I do
Uh,
remember I tuned into the Interpro show last week, and I think it was Ben who said it might have been the week before actually. I think it was Ben who said once again Connacht played all right for 60 minutes, and that was like 2 weeks ago.
yeah, but it's been a running theme in Connacht rugby where I don't know if it's like a fitness thing, I don't know if it's a player management thing, but it just hit 60 minutes and they look really tired. Like as you can see on the screen, they can play an exciting game of rugby when they want to, and that was a really good try by Harry West. But after that, they like really struggled, and Leinster, being Leinster, they know when to bite, and they've probably trained for it as well. They know when to
Can
bite,
you?
and this,
Sorry, can you do that?
yeah, yeah, yeah. He did. Yeah, if you tap the ball with your foot, yeah, he
Can
sort of
can
rolled
you?
it.
But
Yeah,
can you do it on top? Can you do? I thought the ball had to. I suppose it does visibly move. I guess I
yeah,
would be
yeah.
lying if I said it didn't move.
But
But I've never seen one
yeah,
done like that before.
it's I think Ireland have tried it before. It's just the way that the provinces at the minute are doing these type of dynamic tap and goes. But I say bring back the tap and go where you just have to actually put it on your foot and go. Like I've seen some of my favorite tries being done by that. But I must say, Leinster closing out the game with a bonus point as well. They're sort of flying up the table again. It's almost like it was a forgotten mystery now that we're halfway into the season, the start of the league when they lost 3 games in a row. That's like a forgotten mystery now.
Hmm.
Like we don't really remember that as Leinster sort of begin their domination, and Harry Byrne also getting involved as well. He played a really good game of rugby as well.
But I heard that it only started getting going when Sam Prendergast came on.
Sam Sam Sammy,
Wasn't?
he wasn't on the bench. He wasn't
Was
Yeah,
due
it
he?
to
was on
be
the
on.
bench.
He
Oh,
wasn't.
Blue
No.
Skies lied to me then. Apologies,
Yeah.
Yeah.
everybody.
Uh,
Sam Prendergast wasn't playing. He had a much deserved break, to be honest with you. I feel like with the Irish setup is that we've got so many tens and we just don't really know. Like they're all taking turns, but I feel like Harry Byrne is starting to come out to be, that Bristol loan last season has changed his career trajectory. Like he went because there was what 4 fly halves last season at Leinster. There was Ross Byrne, Prendergast, and Harry, and then there was like Charlie Tector, who was
Kieran
also a
Foley.
10 at the time, Kieran
and
Foley as
Foley.
well.
Yeah.
But that sort of loan where he played like I think he played about 13 games for Bristol. He's came back a different player, and it's like his awareness and his confidence has just exceeded in that loan period, which is really interesting because I did make a point I think on the Interpro show about looking into the way that the Kiwis would have their sabbaticals up in the Northern Hemisphere. Would it not be really cool to see the likes of, I don't know, Sam Prendergast play Super Rugby to get a bit of experience just when our season finishes?
Mm.
But yeah, I find it very interesting. But a really good win for Leinster. It's sort of that classic feeling of Leinster are back, and they probably will just start motoring again right up until the end of the season. So it's interesting.
Yes, Mohammed.
Um, when I look at the team, Leinster rotated a lot. I mean, I've seen a lot of these players, but I wouldn't necessarily think that like if they were playing in the Champions Cup final and or URC final, that a lot of these guys might have been picked. They are good
Well,
players though. But what
mhm.
concerns me is that like Leinster can rotate this much, go to an away Interpro game in their own conference and win, whereas like South African teams cannot do this. Our
Well,
in conference games are like I wonder sort of like the pros and cons of South African versus African teams games being such a slogfest. The one thing is like iron sharpens iron, but then the other aspect is like it takes a lot out of you. And then the last aspect is like, did Connacht get a new stadium or did they just get a new stand on the side of
yeah.
the existing stadium?
uh, It
Yeah,
was it was a new stand. It
yeah,
was a new stand to get put in. But
yeah,
as Hugh said, I think it cost something like 40 million, 40
good.
million for it. It's 40 million euros, which is crazy, but
Mm,
it seems like really up to date. And it seems like they had a cafe that I saw online that was getting a bit ripped into called like the Scrum Cafe. And someone was
yeah.
like, oh, you can pile down and have a coffee or something like that. But for Leinster's rotation, they have just a wealth of really good homegrown players. Jack
Mm,
Boyle came off injured and he's dropped out of Six Nations now, but he's actually been replaced by Billy Bowen, who's now just swapped in the Connacht loose head. You have, but yeah, it's for like, and Connacht had a really good team as well. You had the likes of Sam Elo, who's having a great breakout season. You have the likes of Cian Prendergast, who is in the Ireland squad and well deserved, but he is starting to do really well as well. Well, he's always been really good. You have Josh Awoni finding form. It's a good Connacht team, but I feel like they're lacking that little bit extra to actually get them over the line and secure really famous wins like this one.
Yes. Well, the you just got to say it though. 2 from 9 for
Yeah,
Connacht.
two from nine, and they're also looking at loads of their players leaving. They're like Ben Murphy going to Steel Sharks apparently is a crazy one. You
Joe
have the
Joyce has
like
gone to Gloucester, hasn't he?
Joe Joyce has gone to Gloucester. Ben Murphy's going to Sale. Matthew Devine is going up the road to Ulster apparently as well. But they're looking at getting a lot of Leinster players. They've already got Kieran Frawley. There's probably a lot more coming in the piper because the Stuart Lancaster effect is you know he's whispering in these players' ears, going, "Come on up to here. We'll give you like for Kieran Frawley, for example, the starting 10 jersey instead of playing 15." But Frawley I thought he played really well, but he also scored as well. So I always think that's a bit like the only awkward thing about players getting announced early in the season. If you play them and you see he scores against you, kind of like, oh, he's going to be an idiot until
At
about
least he's good.
6 months. Yeah, yeah, he's going to be all right for us, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, though. You say that Leinster benefit from having a good pipeline of players. When you actually say that, it makes me think that like the Bulls have a similar system. The Sharks definitely have a good pipeline of players, but we tend to lose players if they're not playing regularly and they don't get people aspire to play regularly for their URC franchise and or ideally also play for the Springboks. So if they get both those, they tend to stick around, maybe even move within South Africa, that type of thing. But they tend not to go overseas immediately, at least. But what tend to also happen is that even if they play regularly for the Sharks, but they're not getting recognized by the Springboks, that means that they're not maximizing their income. Then they go to Japan and so on and so forth. And the last thing
Yeah.
I'd say is I'm really pleased that Connacht have finished the construction of this additional stand in their stadium. It's just more people to see them lose to the Sharks in the Challenge Cup next round. Thank you.
Bold statement.
Right. Well, very good. Anyway, on that bold statement, a reminder, if you are enjoying the show so far and you think this URC show seems good, do they have anything else? Yes, we do. This is the Global Gainline YouTube channel where you can find weekly dedicated shows in both audio and video formats of URC, Top 14, an Irish dedicated podcast, a South African dedicated podcast, occasionally a USA dedicated podcast, occasionally a women's rugby dedicated podcast, all on here. And if we can add a Japanese one, we'll go for it. If someone wants to make an English one, I'm sure there's other channels out there for you. So this is what it is. But we are on the quest to get 1,500 subscribers to this Global Gainline YouTube channel. It's been a good couple of weeks for us here, so we're feeling quite good about it. So if you are enjoying the show so far, please consider subscribing and leaving a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. We take no responsibility for the replies that you might get, which are from producer Lee, and he is a law unto himself. Okay, Adam, on to the third game on the agenda, which I have decided is this one. Scarlets versus Ulster.
That was the game. Oh.
So for people who are new here, Adam is an Ulster fan. I am a Scarlets fan. Tradition dictates that as a Scarlets fan, I should speak first because my team won, and we normally let the winner speak first. However, I'm going to break with tradition and I'm going to let Adam speak first.
I think with this game, like we were messaging a lot during the game, and you messaged me, Hugh, beforehand saying how good the Ulster setup structurally was. And I went into the game and we had like I was really confident. I had Mike Lowry coming back into the squad. You had like a lot of players. Like as I said, I messaged when I messaged you, I mentioned how for me as an Ulster fan with rotation, I don't mind rotation because on paper that's a really strong team. I thought Charlie Irvine had a really good game, but I feel like within the first, it was in it the first 35 seconds when Mike Lowry got hit and then he went down. And the argument was that yes, he went down. However, it was the force that he hit the ground. But that started alarm bells in my head because then we brought on Jake Flannery, who has played 15 before, but I much rather him as a fly half than a fullback. I feel like Scarlets immediately recognized that we had a slight weakness at fullback, and I feel like the likes of Sam Costello, who I thought had an absolutely stellar game. I thought he was really, really good, to be fair. Just chose the right times to pump it back into our backfield. Essentially, there were so many times where we were caught out in the backfield. Yeah, there was so many days. Yeah, you've got this all up on your thing. It's just like click in. But there were so many times we were caught up in our backfield, and we just looked a bit lost. There's a couple of times where we dropped the ball as well. There was a couple of times where we dropped the ball. The likes of Werner Koch dropped the ball a few times as well. He had his hair tied up and he didn't play great, and then he took his hair down, and that was the best that we played. And then after the second half, he put it back up again, and I was just like, "Oh, come on!" But I feel like as an Ulster fan, we lost that. We should have won it so many times. There should have been so many times where we had that game dead and buried, but it showed the Scarlets fight in that defense, and also you're forcing a lot of mistakes on our part as well. The weather was
Played a
not
big
great.
part.
The weather played a big part, as I mentioned before the podcast. Jack Murphy kicked the ball. He stood there looking at the ball as you see it go. The camera moves, and then it just moved back to Jack Murphy, who was standing in the exact same spot, catching the ball. And I was like, I don't think I've ever seen that before. It's like the
It was
Dan
like a
Carter.
yo-yo.
It was like a yo-yo. It was like the Dan Bigger, like the famous banana kick. Like it was something like that. I was like, I've never seen that happen before. But I feel like for Ulster's sake, like we played a really good game. The likes of Nick Timoney, doing that slight forward pass. Well, it was given as a forward pass, but the Nick Timoney giving that forward pass, but every single time it showed how he had like four Scarlets players bundling over him. But
I got that one to hand as well.
yeah, but at the end of the day, like, I feel like Scarlets, well, we kicked the ball dead, and then the referee decided to go back 3 minutes and spot something that his TMO randomly spotted 3 minutes after. I'm not one for ref bashing, however, I didn't think the game was refed like well at all. There was like, a couple of moments where I just thought, Oh, Scarlets have shouted something in the background to one of the Scarlets players, and the referee would have just went like would have given it, and I was just being like, you're listening to the players around you, but I feel like we lost, we definitely lost it, and fair play to the Scarlets. Like I thought that last minute try, yes, it was disheartening, but I almost thought, yeah, fair enough.
The Yes, I think there is a world where those two teams play exactly the same level of performance and Ulster win by 2 scores
Yeah,
because you had at least two, maybe three tries ruled out. And the, I think with the Eddie James thing, it's kind of, as a Scarlets fan, you kind of wanted to celebrate it, but Mikey Lowry did look in a bad way, so you can't really celebrate it that much. I'm going to stand up for the referee in that there was no, in my opinion, a camera angle that clearly showed that there had been head contact, and to me,
yeah,
his head has hit the turf quite hard.
mhm,
So I think
yeah,
that if he's dazed, it could easily be because of that. Having said that, Eddie James is not bent at the waist; he has hit him
yeah,
upright.
quite high.
So if there was a camera on the other side of the ground, then it could well have been that it would have caught a different angle. So I think Ulster may be unlucky there. But from a Scarlet's point of view, easily, and I said to you in WhatsApp
Yeah,
beforehand, for us to win this, because you brought a proper team, I
yeah, we
said for
did.
us
Yeah,
to win this, it will need to be our best performance of the season by a long way, and that's exactly what it was.
yep,
And is it a new manager bounce with Nigel Davis coming in? Probably, probably a fair bit of that. I think the one thing, like every third word out of his mouth since he's come in has been either identity or DNA. And I think that's the boys compared to what they were doing in the first 10 games of this season. They look like they're playing a brand of rugby that they want to play. And as I completely agree with you, I think Sam Costello was superb. I thought he was
yeah.
fantastic. I do have to just shout out briefly Nathan Doak getting his Player of the Match award because they gave the Player of the Match when they thought that
Oh
Ulster were going
yeah,
to win, and he didn't he wasn't happy.
no,
I think the first two sentences that he
well,
said was first thing he said was, "Yeah, no, I'm gutted," and then he paused and then he went, "Yeah, no, I'm gutted
yeah.
again." So
Well, the thing is, like, we talk a lot about identity. I feel like last season, if Ulster would have lost that, the players would have taken it lightly. This season, like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just like, awareness of that you're playing for your product. I would never say that there was not a lack of passion last season, but I felt like last season was different. Whereas this season, we are taking it hard. We should have won that game. There's a lot of moments where I thought, yeah, we have it here. We have it here. Rob Herring kept on battering the line for the Scarlets. We kept on knocking the door. It was like the last 15 minutes, I swear we were up in the 22 and we're just battering and battering and battering the door. But as I said, like you had is it Sam Luisi, the second row? I probably butchered his name. He was taking players out of that ruck. Like it was no bother to him at all. I thought he was another player that played really well for the Scarlets. But as an Ulster fan, is this going to be one of those games that we are like, we really should have won that at the end of the season? Yes, because the table's so clogged in.
mm,
But for all the wins that we have had this season, it's almost like we had the Sharks win in South Africa. So I still think we're okay. This is just
mm.
a little blip. And Cardiff
I think
next
it's a
week.
blip.
Yeah,
I don't think you play badly. I think that's what makes it from a Scarlets fan point of view more pleasurable is that I think that you played well. We didn't beat a bad team. We didn't
no.
scrape a win against a bad team. We maybe had a smash and grab against a really good team, which I'm kind of okay with. But like I said, even if we had lost, the first half alone was by miles our best
Oh,
half of rugby from the season. So I was happy with the performance, definitely.
it's really weird seeing Angus Bell going around Parky Scarlets with that pitch being so like damp. Like the pitch did not look like in good nick. It must have been like quite stormy beforehand. But
Yeah, it was.
I just love the idea of just Angus Bell going from like Lions Test series like playing against the Lions to Parky Scarlets, and like that's the beauty of the league though. It like the Parkway Scarlets is a great stadium, but like that pitch was.
It was okay. It held up, to be fair. I've
Yeah, it
seen
did. Yeah.
seen a lot worse. But just on the final try, like I have watched this probably 50 times.
Yeah, fair
And
enough. I would have
since
done
it
the same.
happened. It was one of those ones like whilst it was happening, I was like, it wasn't until he'd like I almost didn't celebrate until he jumped over the line, grounded the ball, stood up, was being hugged. Did my brain really register what was happening? And I was like,
I
oh my goodness. But it's all about the pass and what you have to watch. I'm going to show it to you twice. Hopefully the video doesn't cut out. I've seen it like a
yeah.
hundred times and it's so good. I think, will Ulster be disappointed with that missed tackle? I think
I
maybe
14 men. I feel like these were set up really well. As you said, that skip pass was really good.
with
As
the
I
skip
kind of
pat. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Oh, sorry. As I kind of said as well, like that what was it? The slip, the miss, like there was a lot of missed tackles, there was a lot of dropped balls in that Ulster squad. It was a weird one because you said whilst we played well, yes, it was we did play very well, but there's a lot of things that we should have done better. Our back three dropped the ball a few times. Werner Koch dropped a few times. Jake Flannery, to be fair to him, I don't think he would have been expected to get thrown in for most of the game at fullback. But I feel like that was already us on the back foot. However, Bryn Ward was phenomenal once again. I thought he was just knocking down every single time he had the ball. He was just first player that came up. No, second, a bit of a speed bump. Third was always the one that tackled him. But
I
yeah,
I really enjoyed watching Stuart McCloskey, and that was him playing
oh yeah.
against my team. And initially, I was like, "What?" Initially, I was like, "Galaxy brain." Oh, it's really smart and intricate how they always manage to engineer a physical mismatch with Stuart McCloskey, and he's always running at a smaller player. And then after a while, I just realized, oh no, wait, he's just way bigger than everyone else on the
Oh,
pitch.
he's massive. He's playing some of the best rugby of his career, and as an Ulster fan, he's been one of our best players in many years. But the fact that he's hitting this like monumental form just before Six Nations as well,
And
he
fitness.
and fitness, he's like it's the best we've seen him. And as I said, like my other favorite Stuart McCluskey moment where he had a hair bun and he was taking conversions. So, this is like getting there, like getting there to be my favorite Stuart McCluskey.
Sorry,
But yeah,
somebody.
I feel like for the players in general as well, I feel like when our front row was tested in the scrum as well,
I
even when
felt
we
we had your number a little
yeah,
bit at scrum time.
you did. I feel like you did really well in the scrum. And then I also thought when Eric O'Sullivan came onto the pitch that he had a good impact off the bench as well. He's a player that's nice to see coming back into form. But but yeah, we had a couple of mismatches. Jude Postlewaite came on and you messaged on WhatsApp going, "Oh no, Jude's on," and I went, I feel like if Mikey Laurie was still on that pitch, injuries happen, but I still, if Mikey Laurie was on that pitch, we would have looked more settled in the backs. We'd have just like that little bit better in the backs, and possibly would have had a much more open game to run at.
Speaking of him, speaking of the man himself, you got to watch him for this. You have to watch him for this miss pass. So I think he's this guy. He's this guy on the end, and you have to. You see the moment where he realizes what's happening, and he panics, and it's like one of those dreams where you need to run but you can't run. It's
Mhm.
like that. It's like that. It's like, oh no, it's happening. It's happening. Oh no, oh it's
Oh no, it's
happened. Oh no.
yeah, it's one of those like I feel like it's a learning curve, and I feel like
I don't think he's done anything particularly wrong.
no. Well, as I said, we were down 14 men, and I honestly thought when you took off Blair Murray, I was like, okay, this could be okay for us. This could be okay. And then I forgot that you had Ellis May, and I quite like Ellis May. I feel like he's quite a good operator. And then he scored that try, and I went, he's gone down in my eyes now. His stock in my eyes went down that little bit more. But as I said, like it was such a weird game. Like I sat at the end of it and it was sort of like that ringing feeling in your ears. It must be like when Munster fans see them lose the cast. And like it's sort of like I think it was your first win against us in 8 years as well. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
those sort of records were done, and fair play at the end of the day. What only matters is the scoreboard. It doesn't matter about the referee, it doesn't matter about what. It just matters about the scoreboard. And yeah, he's won, and I thought he's played very well.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed it a lot. Anyway, let's change it up because you and I have just spoken for quite a lot. So I'm just going to change up the order a little bit. And bring back in Mohammed as we talk about Edinburgh versus Bulls. So I
Yeah.
said on another podcast, I
Mhm.
said we can judge the Bulls whether they're back or not on Edinburgh away. And well, Edinburgh away has now happened and the Bulls have won it. So what does that mean?
Yeah, unfortunately, Ethan's not here, but two wins in Europe on the bounce now for Bulls, quite good. They were horrible in the first half. Edinburgh was quite good. And then the coach didn't seem to be panicking. And in the second half, they really clicked into gear. They got their scrum penalties going. They were a bit more physical. They were a bit more acute. And they only took the lead right towards the death. And it's almost like the ideal time to take the lead type thing. And Edinburgh didn't have a reply to them. So overall, are the Bulls back? And this is more what we want to see. Will the Bulls play next week? We'd have to check later. But yeah,
Lions away. I'll tell you. I'll
oh,
tell you about the Bulls'
interesting.
next fixtures
Interesting.
in a minute because it's
Yeah, but
interesting.
I think which is weird because Edinburgh had a solid team on the thing, but the game's not played on paper. Um, Johan Grobbelaar played the whole game. Players that stood out for me, Gumede had another good game. Andre
He's made an
Rudolph is
impact
like
since he's come back.
growing. He played the whole game. So did Pollard. Chestnut Joster had a good game, but unfortunately he went off for concussion. You actually could see the mouth guard flashing and stuff like that. So that was I think. But then his replacement, the very rotund Stravino Jacobs, not as fast as Chestnut Joster, but still not slow. He actually made a massive impact in the game. Overall, they turned into the business Bulls in the second half.
I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that. Just to do our best to cover it from a kind of Edinburgh point of view. Obviously, we're missing Ethan, the Scottish correspondent, but I feel like Edinburgh's attack is give it to Darcy Graham and see what he can do, and Edinburgh's defense is wait for Freddie Douglas to make a turnover. And if neither of those things work, that's plan A and plan B out the window.
Yeah, I was disappointed Duan didn't make more of an impact. He had some moments in the game, but I expected a bit more from him.
I mean, it was
So
Rian Lowe who posted, "Oh, the Curry Cup is alive and well." Because if you look at the try scorers, Duan van der Merwe, P.S. Schoeman, Marcel Corsia, Johan Grobbelaar, Marco van Staden. So I don't. I was flicking because on Friday night all the games were at the same time. I was flicking between this game and other ones. Obviously, Edinburgh took the lead early, but and obviously Sean Everett being the coach is another South African connection. But it was just what really stood out to me as well, though, I have to say, was how the Bulls players celebrated on the pitch. It felt like they needed that. It felt like they felt under pressure, and there was a pressure release moment when they got the W in this one.
yeah, their attacking flair is really coming to the fore as well. Defense was solid, but it seems like maybe they're getting the gist of what Ackerman's trying to do in terms of the attack. Obviously, Ackerman's got Neil de Bruin there again next to him, so that sort of helps. And,
But
and
the
yeah,
the
but
attack wasn't the problem though. Neil Devane's come
we
in as
talk
the
about
attack coach.
Sasha Feinberg and Ngome Zulu's kicking. Andre Pollard was kicking in very difficult conditions because I mean the wind was. We talk about
Mm.
windy Galway and talk about Glasgow's home stadium being quite windy. Um, Conditions in this game in Edinburgh weren't ideal either.
That's one thing I just want to bring back from the Scarlets Ulster game as well. Is Sam Costello nailed some very hard kicks, so more praise for him. But you're right. I've been calling out Andre Pollard's performances for the Bulls so far. One thing I cannot criticize is his goal kicking. It's clearly very, very, very good. I don't know if that's news to say that Andre Pollard is a good goal kicker, but he's delivering on the hype on that front at least. But I think a solid result for the Bulls. But shall I tell you the Bulls' next three fixtures?
Mm-hmm.
They have got the Lions away. They have got the Sharks away, and then they've got the Stormers at home.
Interesting. So
So
three
if we,
derbies in a row, but there's a bit of a gap between the first and the second game.
but if we're saying are the
Mm,
Bulls back
mm.
if they lose those three games, they could be right back to
Yes.
square one. And by that
Yeah.
I mean if they lose those three games, it could be curtains. That could be the end of
Yeah.
it.
And then the Bull supporters that I know, especially my neighbors and coworkers, will be saying, "Oh, it's a rebuilding year," type of thing. We're going back to that. But just like with holding off on the like, is JP Peterson a good coach or not? I'm just holding off to see if the Bulls are back yet or not. Look, it's a good result. Now they're just a point ahead of of the Sharks, and I'm getting a lot of like stick from Bull supporters saying like, "Oh, they're much better than the Sharks." It's like you're marginally better than the Sharks.
Yeah, it is worth saying as well, though, that Ross Thompson missed two out of his three kicks. If he gets
Mm.
one of them, it's obviously a different result. But if
I'm
if
not.
coulda, woulda, shoulda.
I'm not massively impressed by the Edinburgh's fullback or their starting fly half, but they're quite young guys, so maybe they'll push. Maybe they'll shine eventually.
Yeah, Harry Patterson's had some good performances. He's capped for Scotland.
Yeah.
Mm.
It does feel like the fly half position for both Edinburgh and Glasgow next year is going to be a big talking point because of the players that are just going abroad all the
Yeah,
time.
because I look at those guys and they don't excite me, but if I look at Yuri Mateo, who's like on the bench at the Stormers, that guy like excites me. So,
Mm. From a Scottish point of view, I'm afraid we are going to skip over Zebre versus Glasgow a little bit because I'm not sure who watched it. Did anybody even seen the highlights of this one?
I've seen
mm.
the highlights of it. And from what I've like read up, like I don't know if you see sometimes I'm on the other screen. I just try and like look up little things if we have someone missing.
Hmm.
But from what I can see that what I can see is that Zebra had some form of like a fight back towards the end. The last try, it was the Pani try was a thrown intercept. So I
Right.
think Glasgow not scoring four tries as well is very interesting. And oh no,
It
no, they
is.
did. Sorry, they did. Only because I see that wee penalty try box. That's not normally there.
Ah, the
But things like that. It looked like a very cold night in Parma as well. I don't think the conditions were exactly great there
I'm
either.
never, ever, ever going to give Glasgow the "it was cold" excuse. It's
No, no,
Glasgow.
it looked like no, but like it looked like in terms of like I know it's in Glasgow to be fair to them, but it looked like a really tight game. From what I could see online, there was a lot of, as I mentioned again, there was a lot of referee chat. But of course, watching the highlights, I'm not exactly sure why or what happened there. But I think it's a better result for Zebra than it is almost like
Yeah.
in terms of like for confidence reasons going into like that sort of break. It's a better result for Zebra. And we are seeing a different Zebra side, like one that does play with much more confidence and much more flair.
I mean,
They're
look at
doing
this.
well in the
Look
Challenge
at this
Cup.
Glasgow lineup. It's a very, very strong lineup. Like if you go from six down, Gregor Brown, Rory Darge, Jack Dempsey, George Horn, Adam Hastings. I haven't said a bad player yet. Ollie
Nope.
Smith, maybe less known. Sione Tuipulotu, Hugh Jones, Kyle
Yeah.
Stay, and Kyle Rowe. It's a basically a full strength Glasgow team. Like Scott Cummings on the bench, Matt
Yeah.
Ferguson on the
Matt
bench,
Ferguson.
Stafford McDowell on the bench, um,
It
Xander
like
Ferguson on the bench. It's
I mean,
it's.
no Dan Lancaster though. Ah.
I wonder whether Glasgow were a bit just not up for this one. You know, it just
yeah,
a strong team, Zebra away, kind of just a bit took it for granted a little bit, which they did win. And I'm not criticizing Glasgow because they've been phenomenal this season. You
yeah.
know, I'm not trying to slander them or anything, but this wasn't their cup final. Put it that way.
No, it wasn't, but it's the game that's put them on the top of the URC all of a sudden, and it's now the dynamics slightly changed. But as we're probably going to talk about in a little bit, the table is so close at the minute.
Yeah, I think it's very much job done from Glasgow. In fact, is
Mhm.
this? Yeah, I was just going to bring up. And what do you guys think of Glasgow's light blue jersey?
It looks decent
I
on TV. Yeah.
I don't like. Well, do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the old Glasgow when they had the old. Do you know the old Glasgow badge? I'm talking 2013. I think when they won the Pro 12 against Munster and they had that sort of old badge, like they always had a kit like this. It's like
Hmm.
it just reminded me of like an old Glasgow kit, essentially. That sort of nice light blue turquoise, but having it looks like a kit that Leinster brought out like years ago that they had it for a training kit, so it did look a bit odd when I looked at the highlights. It sort of had second take to it.
Yeah, it's a very Coventry City. Hmm.
It is quite
Yeah,
Coventry
it is
City.
very
It is,
Coventry
yes.
City.
Uh, Yeah, I don't have tons more to say about this. Like I said, I think it's just job done from a Glasgow point of view. But I think the story really is Zebre, a hell of a battle.
Yeah,
That's a very pleasing scoreline from those. Zebre have had a couple of good results in the Challenge Cup, and they're building a bit of a momentum. They won their first two games of the season and haven't won since in the URC. So,
that's mad.
and they're
That's
now
mad to
bottom of the
think of.
table, which is a little bit brutal. So hopefully, they can get a couple more wins before the end of the season because yeah, they've had some bad results, but I don't think that bottom of the table really reflects Zebra's current.
No.
It's not like old Zebra where it was like losing every game by 30 points.
Yeah, and also they also have a bit of fight to them. Like old Zebra would have just given up at half time. Like this Zebra scored most of their points after the first half. Like the fight and the drive that's in them at the minute, as you said, I don't think they relatively deserve to be bottom of the table, but it's that brutality of the league at the minute. They're doing so
Mm,
well in Europe though.
for sure, for sure. I'm now going to move on to our next game, which is Munster versus Dragons 22-20. Similar in that a much closer scoreline than you would have expected. And I, in my Welsh Rugby WhatsApp groups, was getting messages during this one. And like I said, I was channel hopping for the three Friday night games. I was getting messages saying, the Dragons are genuinely battering Munster here. And I was like, surely not. And then I flicked it on. I was like, oh, this is actually, yeah, seems to be pretty good. I think Dragons led at half time.
Yeah.
Obviously, eventually the dam broke. But even when Dragons ultimately ended up conceding the try, I was like, their defense was gutsy, was really, really gutsy. They really gave it everything in this game. And they had a horrible result in the Challenge Cup. I think last time out, they got 70 off Benetton. But this was their proper team, brought back their Welsh internationals. Their second rows, I know, going very well. Levi Douglas, Ben Carter. Ben Carter, for me, I would start for Wales. Obviously, Aaron Wainwright is what he is. Shea Hope scored again. Probably one of the unluckiest players not to get selected for Wales in the Six Nations. Tinas De Beer, I think, has been a great signing. Rio
Yeah.
Dyer has found his form again, which is great to see. And Aaron Owen and Fina Inisi, sorry. It's just working. It just feels like it's working now for the
Yeah.
Dragons. And yes, I know they've lost, but this is not a scoreline that many people would have been predicted. But Adam, to flip it around, yes, Munster have stopped the rot. Their losing streak is over, but if the Dragons overperformed, Munster underperformed still, despite the result, you have to say.
Yeah, I'll preface it in saying that JJ Hanrahan was supposed to start, but he pulled out 5 minutes beforehand with an injury.
Yeah.
So Tony Butler wasn't like nailed on to start at that 10 position. However, it doesn't, like as we say, it doesn't excuse for the whole team performance. But there's running I'd always say like there's tactics that are there to be played, and Butler might have only thought that he was going to get 15 minutes at the end of the game, let's just say. But they didn't I did feel like Munster were really like it was really interesting how the game was played. I thought they were reacting they like the first half didn't go to plan. The Dragons were absolutely like
Zero clean breaks for Munster. Sorry, five clean
yeah,
breaks for Dragons, zero for Munster. Wow.
all of their tries came up from forwards bashing up on the
That's
try
a bit
line.
old Munster.
It is very old Munster, but it's also old Munster to like come back from a game that almost was sort of like lackluster in that sense as well, because as I said, with the Newport team, they came out, they started to like put up a score line, and then almost it was like the second half happened. They brought on Gavin Coombs and he scored within what 8 minutes of each other. He scored twice within 8 minutes, and it was like, oh, old Gavin Coombs is back, it seems. Um, Butler missed a conversion, so kicks is it's so important, of course. But I thought that, as I said, well, it's Sean Adogbo. That's another one I need to shout out. Sean Adogbo's first game for Munster.
Why do I think his first name is Edwin?
His brother is Edwin. and his brothers.
Oh,
So so we've got the Ward brothers and the Dogbo brothers. Irish rugby is going to be mental in the next couple of years with brothers. But shout out to Sean Dogbo making his debut. He was born in 2004, which is 2 years after me, and he is probably the size of two me's, maybe four me's. He's a really classy operator on the ball.
when you say me, you
Um,
Wow,
mean you and not Ellis
six
me. Yeah.
Kalins. Wow, it's a
yeah,
lot of Kalins.
yeah, so, yeah. But yeah, no, not Alice, me. I meant me as in Adam, who's also very wee as well. But me and Kaelin's never been in the same room yet, so we don't know that officially. But but yeah, I feel like for Munster, it was one of those where it was their first win of 2026, which I think is mad. The fact that we're like 3 weeks in and they haven't had a win yet, but to me, this Munster side is lacking a little bit of extra something. And like it's like maybe it's a leadership thing,
Mm.
maybe it's a creativity thing, but Clayton McMillan had this team playing some really nice rugby at the start of the season, like some really nice rugby at the start of the season. But now it's sort of like, they've got Alala in, and he's not done much, to be honest with you. As loan signings go, he's there to be a prop. He's there to steady the scrum, but the likes of Jean Klein, who's leaving to go to Gloucester as well. He's another one that's going to Gloucester. But there's all these players that I said they were lacking leadership on the pitch. It seemed like they were lacking leadership, but you have the experience of Jean Klein, you have the experience of the likes of what was it, Alex Nankiville, and I would say even Dan Kelly with his experience of playing in the Prem. But yeah, it's really weird. I feel like Munster really do need.
That's really bad. Like,
Yeah,
sorry, we're watching the Tinas de Beer break. Someone
yeah.
get it. Someone catch it. Is that what's his name? The 10, should
Butler.
he come forward? Has he
Tony,
claimed it?
I don't know what Tony Butler was doing, and I don't know if he was expecting the kick because he was just looking at Tennis de Beer in that one as well. It was another one that I thought was a bit interesting. There's Sean Dogbo keeping up with the winger though. He seems to have like such like for the size of him as well. But there's a lot of positives for Munster, as I said. Sean Dogbo being probably the biggest positive out of that game,
Mm.
making his debut. But there's, as you say, a lot of questions. For Newport's sake, I feel like they're another team that we sort of written off at the start of the season, but much like Zebre, they have been putting in some good performances. They've just been unlucky on the side of the scoreline.
Yeah, they have. They have. It is good to see from a Welsh point of view to see the Dragons pick it up a bit, and I think I don't. It's difficult to say what's changed. I think maybe he's just figured out the selection. Sometimes rugby's a simple selection, and maybe he's just figured that out. And they got that one win, and then the confidence just grew and grew and grew. So now they can't when they do lose, they can't now use the kind of we just don't know how to win excuse because they've won quite a lot lately. So
One
I think
aspect that I saw an article saying that Munster started well under Macmillan, but then they took the break when the Irish team was playing in the November Test series, the Cole Pinter Quinter series, and then they came back and they haven't quite been the same. So that could be a factor. Yeah.
mm,
Yeah, there could be a lot of factors. Like I do feel like, of course, they had a lot of rotation in this squad as well. You didn't have Casey, you didn't have Hanrahan, you didn't have Crawley either. Tyke Byrne finally got given a rest because I feel like he's played every single game since probably 2 years for the past 2 years. But you had a lot of those players that are like getting rested. But as we say on this podcast, you need like that sort of depth to be built in, and maybe it is a big confidence boost for somebody like Tony Butler, who is only young still. I think he's 23, to come in. I'm saying that as a 23-year-old, but to come in and play a game like that where he does win it, like it's confidence, little confidence boosts like that.
yeah,
But as we say, like it's a pretty lackluster Munster performance, and I'd say Newport would be annoyed that they weren't on the right side of it.
at the same time, though, they did fight their way back into it. They did get the result, so they
Yeah,
dug themselves out of a hole. And it might be one of those of like, we got the W, lads, just forget about it. And like I said, they stopped the rot as well. You talk about the
yeah.
Dragons needing their confidence of a win. The Munster have now got the win as well. So let's just call it job done again. You're
Well,
talking
it's
two missed kicks as well from Tony Butler as
yeah.
well. So it could have been. Oh no, sorry, I'm looking at completely the wrong thing. One missed
It
kick. Apologies. All right, I forgive you, Tony Butler. It's not that
it
bad.
it's a big match next week against Glasgow and Scotstoun though. Like that's the thing. Like
Oof.
it's a big bit. Like I'd say if Munster were to pick anyone to play next week, Glasgow would be the bottom of the list. Like
Oof.
and that would probably be without some of the Irish players
Scottish
because
players as well.
yeah, without the Scottish players. So it's a classic, in my opinion, Pro 12 match. A bunch of players that you kind of know play against each other. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Anyway, before we go any further and talk about the last two games, I just want to remind people, if you've been watching this far, you're clearly enjoying it, at least on some level. So please consider subscribing to the Global Gain Line. Or if you are listening on audio platforms, whether that's Spotify or Apple, on Spotify, you can leave comments. You can leave reviews as well on both of them. Get involved. Help us. If you know someone who might like the show, please share a link with them. Recommend us to a friend. Really appreciate anybody who does us a favor on that front. It's really hard to grow the audio platforms. Or if you found this on YouTube and you're thinking, cool, bit long though, listen to us on the audio while you're going to and from work or doing the dishes or whatever you like. I kind of prefer the audio version, I'll be honest. So we'll see you then. Right. Getting back to the ruggers. Let's now talk about Ospreys versus Lions. Now, from a Welsh point of view, there's quite a lot of context to this, but I'm not going to start with the Welsh point of view. I'm going to start with the South African point of view. Mohammed, this is the first time that the Lions have avoided defeat in the Northern Hemisphere in the URC since October 2024. So, is this 3 points gained for the Lions?
I would perceive this to be a positive result. I obviously couldn't watch it live because I was really just watching the Bulls game. Overall, interesting to see Bato Klakani playing the whole game. The combo of him and Renzo du Plessis at 6 and 7. I won't say 6-7 because I know Adam's students do that all the time and it drives them crazy because I do watch the Interbro show. Mone van der Berg had a solid game. Hashim P came off the bench and actually made an impact. I will say one big thing to shout out is that Bronson Mills, the young inside center, is still playing really well. He's not the biggest dude, but he plays. He's willing to kick. He's good in contact. And he's quite dynamic. He's very fast as well. But Lions had everybody that was fit, their best team. They finally got star outside center Henko van Wyk back. I keep saying Henko Venter, and they went with the 6-2 split. So yeah, it was going to be interesting to see what the Lions supporters Sibusiso does sort of unpacks it further on Bit of an Animal. Tune into that. We're recording next Monday. We're doing tomorrow, Monday, and yeah, we'll have just a quick note on that. We'll actually have another new face representing the Stormers. So basically, all the 55,000 people who ended up at the Stormers, I think we're just having one of them show up at the time. We lost our both women's rugby and Stormers supporter / Borland supporter Lisa B, because unfortunately she also left for Gloucestershire. So it is what it is.
Okay. Right. That means it's now my turn to talk about this from an Ospreys point of view. And I watched the end of this game, which was very much the important bit. So now clearly there's a lot of context around the Ospreys this week, as should be covered on our sister podcast, WRAP, WRRAP, Welsh Regional Rugby Appreciation Podcast. They will go into all of the off-field stuff in depth. I'm not going to do that now. It's beyond the scope of this URC podcast. So from the one point of view, you could say the word that's been going around is brave and gutsy performance, to get the draw. And the conditions have been brought up a lot, which I'm pushing back on because of the two sides, which one did the conditions suit more? It wasn't the one from Johannesburg. So, the Ospreys rugby is supposed to be all about being able to play 10-man rugby in the depths of winter. So I'm not giving that as an excuse, the weather. So you could, given that they had training cancelled on one day and the massive disruption and the distraction that it's all been around them, you could almost give it to them apart from like I said, it's the first. Lions at home should be a gimme for all of the Welsh regions. It should be a given victory. And yes, this isn't a normal week for the Ospreys. But when you're on the Lions line. You've made a line break into their 22, and you are the game is there for the winning. You're going forward and you're playing and playing and playing. I just have to call it out. Dan Edwards has cost his team the game. Dan Edwards has cost the Ospreys the win in this game. He's missed a penalty from dead in front. Okay, we can blame the win for that, but it's hard. But having missed a penalty from dead in front because of the wind, why are you taking on a drop goal from way out on the left, like on the tram lines, in the 22? So the angle is like impossible when your team is on. I think they might have been on penalty advantage. Certainly, the Lions are on a yellow card warning, and your team is winning the gain line for fun. Why are you taking a drop goal from that position in those circumstances when you've just seen a penalty that you've kicked drift wide because of the wind? And lo and behold, the drop goal attempt not only is well wide, but also well short. It's a mad decision from Dan Edwards to take that on. And weirdly, the Lions actually ran it from there and tried to go down the other end and almost scored at the other end. It was like millimeters away from the kick through ball being dotted down. So for me, excuses and refusing to call a spade is what has gotten to the Ospreys into this situation. This is one that got away from them, and I can't give them the credit of, oh, it was a brave performance when, like I said, it's the first time the Lions have avoided defeat in the Northern Hemisphere in the URC since October 2024, and the game was there to be won in the dying moments, and they've messed it up basically. So I'm sorry it's harsh. I'm sorry it's maybe not showing the most empathy for the off-field stuff. Like I say, we'll get discussed on rap more, but I can't buy into it was a brave performance thing, unfortunately, in my opinion. That's just me being honest. I think they should live to regret this result, in my opinion. Anyway, so that's the take that I'm probably going to get cancelled for. Like I said, get all of the more extracurricular stuff on rap. It's yeah, it wasn't. It was exciting, if nothing else. I'll tell you what, my heart was pounding when I was watching the last few minutes. It was an absolutely thrilling end to the game. So there's something, if nothing else. While I'm just showing the highlights, I just want to draw attention to something that I missed when we were talking about Edinburgh versus Bulls, which is Duhan van der Merwe's try. So this is a very Duhan van der Merwe thing, in that he scored it as in the corner as he possibly can with an acrobatic finish when he had absolutely no need to.
Mm. You're risking
Like,
it a bit there. Yeah.
and
Was that
Did the TMO
that
check
was
it? Yeah, it's very close.
like he doesn't need to be that far in the corner. He could have gotten it a bit more in there. I don't know
yeah,
why he's done that.
that is really theatric. But yeah, and Hugh, is that from the same? Sorry, no, never mind. I didn't know if that was from the same game.
Yeah, it was.
No, sorry. That was just me. Sorry, mind broke.
Okay. No, never mind. Right. So that just leaves one game for us to talk about, which is Cardiff versus Benetton. I haven't seen tons of this one. I've seen the Cardiff got the win. It's the lowest scoring game of the round. Obviously, there was protests in Cardiff as well because of the whole Y11 thing. Again, tune into rap because of that. I'm saying it over and over and again. But again, Cardiff getting the job done, getting the W on the board. Again, Benetton disappointing, falling short, not doing much. What's jumping out to me straight away looking at this is the goal kicking from Cardiff, the 3 penalty kicks from Callum Sheedy, not generally a goal kicking team. Callum Sheedy often criticised for his goal kicking. He's delivered the goods on this occasion, you have to say. Obviously, only 1 try apiece. I don't think Cardiff were ever losing in this match. I hope I'm not gotten that wrong. It's just ticking off the wins. That's just what Cardiff have to do. And maybe some of the performances aren't the prettiest, but when you look back at over the season, you'll say that they got the job done. They've got the points on the board, and that's what they're doing. And we'll check out the table in a second. That's reflected. Ben Thomas played a very, very good game from what I'm told. Josh Adams is play in a good run of form. Like I said, I don't have tons to say about this one. It wasn't the most thrilling game, but I don't know. Does anybody have any takes on it? Maybe from a Benetton point of view. I've
Ben
honestly so run out of things to say about Benetton at this point.
Benetton very much the Challenge Cup team this season. They did really well in the Challenge Cup. They won their league. The PR team put out a fantastic video, somewhat inappropriate, but they're getting kudos for it as well. So yeah, they're putting all their eggs in the Challenge Cup basket, and yeah, we look forward to defeating them in the semi-final before we meet Adams Ulster in the final.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like with Benetton, it's much like it's almost like much the opposite of like Zebre in terms of like, oh, they're playing like some nice rugby in Europe, as Mohammed said, but like in the league they're really struggling. But then you look at their team and they've got like what Menoncello was starting that game, and Menoncello is class. Like, like it's like players like that where you think they should have had more of a game. But as we said, at Cardiff this season are a different animal, and that's not to like all the off-field stuff is mental what's going on. And I feel like producer Lee at the start of this week was like, here, like playing against the Welsh team this week is going to be incredibly difficult because they're all going to be quite pissed off essentially. And I think that's what we kind of saw. But yeah, it's as you said, it's Cardiff ticking off wins, and at the minute they're probably more than likely still going to be top eight, and will they be the only Welsh team possibly in the top eight as well?
Mm.
But they're playing well, and they're in that home end as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think on that note, it's time for us to check out the table, which we don't do very often on this podcast. So it's worth a check in. So Glasgow are now top, just ahead of the Stormers. Where's the actual points column? I can't see it. Okay, so Glasgow are actually 3 points ahead of the Stormers, which is a little bit remarkable. I'll talk about that in a second. Leinster sneaking up on them. Is that the Undertaker music playing? Mind you, Leinster level on points with Cardiff. That's what I'm saying about Cardiff, just getting the points on the board. Munster still hanging on there in fifth. Ulster, again, still probably in the conversation, probably
Yeah, we've
looking more up than down.
yeah, we've got a game in hand as well. And
Mm.
like if we were to beat in theory Edinburgh, we could get to like that third, second position. Like like with this game in hand, it's like that what type of Ulster team we're gonna have in March, but we can still climb there.
Well, you're 7 points off top with a game in hand. So you
Yeah.
get a bonus point win in that game in hand. You're 2 points behind Glasgow. And by the way, that's a great position to be in.
Yeah.
What is really jumping out at me this season is once you get below sixth in the league, there's a massive drop. So it's only, if you like, 8 points between Ulster in sixth and Lions in seventh. But you need to look at the games won column. So you're going from 8, 8, 7, 7, 7, 6, and then 4, 3, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 3, 2. So it's very much a top six in the rest at the moment.
it, Everyone's beating everyone. Like it wasn't as like last year. It was remarkable how close it was between wasn't it the bottom and eighth. It
Mm.
was remarkable. Whereas I feel like we're gonna get something similar, but but like it's gonna be all the top six trying to face off to try and get that home spot. Whereas that eighth position is open. Like as you said, it was like 3-4-4-3.
Well, look.
Yeah,
Ospreys are currently eighth with 3 wins from 10.
yeah, two draws and Bulls are below them with 4 wins. Like that is mental how at the minute we can see a table like this and it's showing how competitive it is.
This is
And
why
there was
Scarlets, yeah, sorry, this is why Scarlets fans are saying, look, we're in 15th. Well, the season's not over because we've won the same number of games as the team that's in eighth.
Mm.
So, and we got a game in hand. So the
bonus
thing that's
points mean a lot.
really hurting the Scarlets is bonus points. We've got 1 bonus point this season. No one else has got less than 3. Benetton have got 3. Speaking of bonus points, Stormers only got 4. Glasgow 7, Leinster 7, Cardiff 7, Ulster 8. That's going to hurt the Stormers if they don't sort that out because Stormers have won 8 out of 9 and yet are not top. That's it.
Ex-
That shows just the value of bonus points, and bonus points are a controversial topic, but
Mm.
Glasgow are getting the bonus points on the board. So That's what it's going to
Uh,
come down to. And like I said, Ospreys, I 3 from 10, but 2 draws, like you say, and 5 bonus points.
Yeah, I'd love the Stormers to still somehow make top of the log. Well, there's still a lot of rugby to play. Stormers have 9 more games in the normal season, and then Glasgow have 8. So it's interesting to take this moment to assess, because obviously some of the teams are on 9 games because some of the games got cancelled because of the weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like such like if you told us at the start of the season that Stormers would be second and they would have less losses than Glasgow but still be second, but it's that bonus points matter so much, and I feel like that's why what Ulster did last season compared to this season is I think we scored like every single game bar this one and the one before. Every single game in the URC we scored 4 tries. It's like we're really focusing on just finishing the games off like that.
Mm.
So bonus points are like worth their weight in absolute gold at the minute. And if you took the bonus points away, we'd be in and around well, we'd be level with the Lions, and it shows how important those bonus points are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sharks did Glasgow a huge favor. I haven't yet received a thank you text from Ethan, but I anticipate it's on the way. And then finally, my question for the Interpro show, considering Kalen sort of graduated last week and that's why he wasn't there, is he going to appear this week in the podcast wearing his gown and cap?
I'm afraid that you have to rent those. So I
Oh,
Yeah,
don't
you
know.
only
I
get
don't
them for the
know.
day.
Yeah, you only get them for the day. Yeah. It's sad. But Master
Yeah.
Kalon is back on the Interpro show in all of his mastery ways. He might show us a magic trick.
I think after the I always say that this URC really gets going after the Six Nations, and when all of the kind of games in hand are made up, we're in for a 7 match sprint until the end of the season, basically,
very
and
exciting.
really, I don't think the top six need to be looking down too much, but anything can happen outside of that. Anything can
Yeah.
happen outside of that.
It
Anyway, let's predict some round 11 fixtures for the upcoming weekend. So we're going to go in order, and I'm saying Benetton versus Scarlets. Now, Scarlets are going to already have said that they're picking a highly rotated team for this one, but Benetton will lose all their Italy internationals as well.
I would say a Treviso win. But then, as we said, that Treviso are very unpredictable, so he can't really just be like Treviso win, and then Scarlets are going to have some type of benefit of winning last this week and
Mm.
seeing this week and probably be rubbing their hands at this one, as you said, with no Italian internationals. I'd say an Italy team without Italian internationals hurts more than a Welsh team without theirs, I would
Mm.
argue.
Yeah, I'm going for a Benetton win in a low scoring game. Glasgow versus Munster. Ooh, yeah, we talked about this earlier. Glasgow got to be favourites.
Yeah, I'd say Glasgow are favorites, but I'd say Munster will try and throw everything like the kitchen sink at it and try and get like a losing bonus point out of it. And I'd say low scoring, no bonus point, like no 4 try bonus points for either of them. But I would say like a losing bonus point range for Munster, but Glasgow to win it.
Mm. Mohammed, the Yuski derby, Lions versus Bulls.
Both teams flying back from Europe. I think the Bulls have a slight edge. I would like the Lions to win though.
Okay, and then Sharks versus Stormers.
Coin flip. Stormers are going to come back, sort their line out. We're going to see if the Sharks have any fit loose forwards. I think Tino Van Vasere might play, that type of thing. Um, Sharks by 1.
Ooh, okay. Zebre versus Connacht. Now, this is an interesting game. This is
Yeah.
a good round of URC.
Mm.
Zebre versus Connacht. That's a big game. Adam,
Yeah,
Lancaster can't afford to lose this.
Lancaster cannot afford to lose it, but then we Ireland XV play England the week after next. So I don't know whether or not that we're going to have a lot of like all the Irish players that are selected for those squads in the Ireland camp at the minute. But for Connacht's sake, they need to win this. They need to have that positivity, and also Lancaster needs it as well because I would honestly think that he's probably feeling the heat a bit. we're probably going to see the Matthew Devine transfer getting confirmed properly this week. It's been on all the newspapers, but that's going to be a bit of a that's going to be a bit like of a down one for Connacht fans, as he's quite good. But yeah, Connacht by I'd say Connacht bonus point.
Ooh, okay. And then Leinster versus Edinburgh. I don't think it takes a
Uh,
genius to work out what's going to happen in that one.
Leinster bonus point, like they wouldn't have any of their internationals, but they still would have the likes of Archie Snyman, Rico Owane, who was rested last week. But like Leinster's conveyor belt of talent is still getting through. They lost Jack Boyle last week, so their front row is getting like stretched and stretched and stretched. But Leinster bonus point.
Ospreys versus Dragons. That's an interesting game. I'm expecting a good crowd for that. This is a the Dragons haven't got a great record away to the Ospreys. It's one of the quirky stats or hoodoos is the Ospreys at Rodney Parade have got a dreadful record. Can't buy a win. Whereas it's pretty much the other way around when Dragons go to Ospreys. And I would say that the Ospreys are probably just about favourites, but it's an interesting game. I would tune in for that one. I think a lot of Dragons fans will make the trip to the Brewery Field. So that this is a good round. And then Ulster versus Cardiff.
I think for an Ulster standpoint as well, we're as I said, like this is the weird round where it looks really good on paper, but when you look at it, like a lot of the Six Nations guys are not going to be there. And with our
That can be
success
a bit of an
this
equalizer as well.
it could be a bit of an equalizer because, as I said, we also have an Ireland XV game against England, England A. So we've also got like two Ireland squads. I know the lads are in Portugal right now. So we're not gonna have any of our Irish lads. It's gonna be interesting to see what type of squad we put out because we're suffering with injuries in our like sort of B team lineup anyway. Cardiff, would they have their Welsh players
No,
potentially?
no,
Would
not the
you say?
Welsh
No,
internationals, but they have fewer Welsh internationals called up than normal.
well, that's the thing. That's the terrifying thing because Cardiff are playing a nice, exciting brand of rugby, but it's going to be in Ravenhill. I'd say Ulster by 10. I
I
don't
think
think
a
a
high
bonus point
scoring
will get.
game. I think this one there'll
Is
be
it?
tries in this one.
Well, yeah. Actually, to be fair, they both play really nice rugby. We'd hope for a nice dry night for that
Mm.
instead of what we saw in Connacht. But yeah. Actually, yeah. Ulster by 10, high points scoring. I reckon both teams to get a bonus point.
Yeah. Well, we've reached the end of the podcast. Finally, I'm a little bit tired now, so I'm not going to dwell on it for very long. But if you have made it all the way to the end, thank you very much for your support. I hope you've enjoyed everything that you've seen or heard. Make sure that you do all of the commenting, all of the liking, all of the subscribing. Hype, if hyping is still a thing, I don't even know if it is anymore. And yeah, join us next week. Hopefully, we'll have Scottish Ethan back to give a bit more balance and a rounded view. And enjoy your rugby. And I hope that everybody's team wins. Goodbye.